to everybody for joining us today. My name is Jesse Sherrard, and I am one of the managers of Allegheny County Health Department's Food Safety Program. And I also worked at Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank for about 6 years. So the access to food is something that I care deeply about, and I do want to make sure that as the health department, we're serving as a partner to help all of you do your jobs better and make sure that everybody has access to the food that they need. And to that end, I do want to kind of take a look at the food safety requirements and the updates to the food safety regulation through the lens of food security. Allegheny County Health Department's food safety program is tasked with really a huge portion of our county's food security, in as much as it's our role to ensure that everyone can count on having access to a safe source of food, which is really key to food security. If food being provided to somebody is not safe for them to eat, then it's really the opposite of increasing their food security. It's robbing them of calories. So we do want to make sure that no matter where somebody's getting their food, that they can count on it having been received, stored, handled, prepared, and delivered safely. We accomplish this through a combination of permitting and inspections. There are over 8,000 permitted permanent food facilities like restaurants, food trucks, grocery and convenience stores, banquet halls, nursing homes, hospitals, schools, and more. And we also issue permits for hundreds of temporary and seasonal events each year, farmers markets, festivals, things like that. And along with that, we do want to make sure that the charitable food network has the benefit of inspection, benefit of that extra set of eyes to make sure that things are being taken care of in a food safe manner. So we'll be touching on that later. We'll be taking a broad look at what the food safety program does and providing information about several ways that you might want to interact with us and the goals for how we want to work with the region's charitable food network, which is a process that we've followed loosely for years, but with updates to Article 3 that are going into effect in January, we're aiming to be more intentional about the process, so that we make sure that we're helping all of our county's residents, including the most vulnerable, have access to safe food. So food pantries are, in essence, grocery stores. Many pantries I know provide eggs, meats, cheese, and other foods that require temperature control for safety. And the food at a food pantry may actually require more of a check than what might be offered in a for-profit business. Donations of shelf-stable foods are important and need to be encouraged. We also need to have checks in place to make sure that people aren't giving away food that's no longer safe for distribution, whether it's rusty cans, missing labels, or food subject to a recall. Situations where somebody says, I just feel bad throwing this away, but sometimes when it's not avoidable, throwing it away really is the best way to handle it. And a new trend that we are trying to approach in a positive manner and try to make sure that everybody is able to have access to fresh foods. But the rise of free fridges as a way of sharing food is a challenge to food safety. We do want people to share food with each other, but foods requiring time and temperature control for safety do need to be temperature monitored. Prepared foods would need to be date marked and rotated. If something's not eaten during the safe window, it needs somebody to curate it and remove the food that may be problematic. So we're looking as a food safety program to help people and organizations with innovative ideas such as the free fridges understand the food safety requirements, so that you can both create progress and reduce food waste and share more food with more people, but also do it in a way that protects people's health. Congregate feeding programs have all of the same food safety requirements as restaurants. Whenever food's being prepared and served to the public, issues related to how food is handled, prepared, cooled, reheated, and served have implications for the health of diners. And it doesn't really matter where it is. It could be at the fanciest five-star restaurant or anywhere else. If food's been mishandled, people are put at risk. So these considerations are perhaps more pronounced at a feeding program, not because food would be handled any differently, but because people who rely on these programs for their meals may not have reliable access to health care. So we do want to make sure that that everything is handled in a way to help anybody out, make sure that that we are helping them to get the food they need to be healthy. And a quick look at the top 10 food safety violations we see across the board in all permitted food facilities does, I think, point out the importance of the monitoring that the food safety program does on a daily basis. It's really quite important that food is held at the correct temperatures, that equipment's being cleaned and sanitized correctly, that the people handling food are practicing the correct personal hygiene, that pests are kept out of the kitchen, that food is in good condition from a good source, and steps are made to chill it quickly and prevent cross-contamination between different food items. And you know, these concerns and more are what we're out there trying to make sure we're helping the public out by correcting these issues as they're discovered. I mentioned that there is an update to Article 3 that's going to take place, become effective on January 1st. This QR code will take you to the page where the updated regulation is available. You can see it just by itself as the new text. You could see it in a red line version where you can look at the differences between the 2023 edition of Article 3 and the one that it's replacing from the year 2000. I believe that Lauren has a link that she can drop into the chat so that if you don't have a smartphone or you're not able to copy down the link, you can just click on that. But this update does provide us with an opportunity to work with many areas of the industry to improve compliance. And again, though we've always had the requirement in place that anybody providing food to the public should have a permit, we haven't been very rigorous about how we follow that, and we are doing some intentional outreach to try to bring the entire food network into the fold and make sure that everyone has access to safe food. Now, the reasons that that Article 3 is being updated fairly significantly have in large part to do with the fact that the last major update happened in the year 2000, and there have been nationwide changes to food handling requirements in the meantime. The most recent copy of the FDA's Model Food Code comes from 2017, and changes that happened between 2000 and 2017 were in large part just not incorporated into the version that that's being replaced. Additionally, we've tried to take advantage of this this revision to make the article easier to follow. Simple changes such as adding headers to different sections of the code, and also changing the order that different rules appear in to try to follow more closely the path that an organization, a business would follow between applying for a permit, receiving the permit, and becoming operational. And we hope that the new listing accomplishes a more reader-friendly version. We've also expanded the definition section in the back of the code to make sure that as many terms as possible are defined, and to help people, they're not quite sure what's indicated by a term, find that without having to access the FDA model food code to see what the federal definition of a particular word is. Now, in terms of what's involved with the changes, a big one is that we've reduced 53 category codes that we used for issuing permits, which had been based on different business models and a system that was really quite difficult for somebody starting a new business to follow and figure out which category code their business fell into, to a new system reducing to 4 classifications based on how complex the food preparation is. So class 1 would actually not really be issued a permit. You would need to register your business, your organization, if you're only handling prepackaged foods that are all shelf stable. So beans, cereals, breads, anything that's not going to go bad if it's not in the refrigerator, and none of the packages are being opened. Class 2 would also involve packages that are never opened, but add into the mixed foods that would go bad if they're if they don't have refrigeration: milk, meat, eggs, cheese, things like that. Class 3 involves prepared foods or non-packaged foods of some sort, but doesn't involve any cooling step. So hamburgers, salads, muffins, while they are cooled, don't require time and temperature control for safety. So those wouldn't be included in a complex process requiring cooling. However, something such as a cheesecake or something of that sort that does need to be refrigerated after it's cooled would fit into class 4, prepared foods with complex processes. I know that can be quite a lot to take in, so here's a closer look, and we do have a flowchart that we can share out afterwards in PDF form as well. But if you're trying to figure out where your organization would fit in, just a few questions to answer. Is all food, oh, there's a typo there that I missed. Is all food whole, unprocessed, and does it remain in a sealed package during all steps of your handling of it? If so, does it require any refrigeration for safety? No, that's a class 1. Just register with the health department in a fairly straightforward manner, and you'll be good to go. But if any food does require refrigeration for safety, that's a class 2. That's going to involve a permit. Now, class 1 organizations are still subject to inspections, probably no more frequently than every other year. Or if there are complaints about one of a place that's listed as a class 1, then we would look into that. And that's really the main goal of registering, is that we know where food's being handled in that manner and can follow up if any concerns are raised our way. Now, back to the first question. Not everything's remaining in a sealed package. Okay, then. Does any of it require refrigeration for safety? No, nothing being refrigerated because it has to be. All right, at that point, you're a class 3. Yes, some food does require refrigeration for safety. Okay, is anything going to be heated and then subsequently cooled? No? Do you have specialized processes that require a HACCP plan? We'll touch on that briefly. If you have questions about that, feel free to ask them at the end. I have a feeling it doesn't really apply to most of the organizations that would be on this call. At that point, nothing being heated, cooled, that's still a class 3. But if ingredients are being heated and cooled, or there are specialized processes involving a HACCP plan, that's where somebody would become a class 4. And questions about that, that QR code or the email address will open up a pathway that you can ask questions and get answers to make sure that things are being handled correctly for your organization. And of course, we're always able to take your phone call as well, 412-578-8044. We've also updated our fee schedule. We've tried to do this in a way that is fair to everybody involved. There are absolutely cases where some people's fees have gone down, and there are absolutely cases where some people's fees have gone up. But we did try to balance this as best we can. We have added or maintained a discount for nonprofit organizations. Any of your organizations would be charged a fee that's half the amount of a business that's a for-profit entity, and we hope that makes it somewhat easier for your organizations to absorb the fees into your budgets. I know a question came up about whether the food bank would be able to help with that. I did check in with them, and they let me know that anybody who does have concerns about the fee and whether it will fit into your budget should absolutely reach out to your network coordinator and discuss options that might be available for some assistance. Now, one of the key services that we offer to prevent issues before they start is by reviewing plans from food businesses before they start construction. We'll get into that a little bit later on. I know most of your organizations are already operational and have been for years, and we'll discuss how we're going to sort of adapt the plan review process in consideration of the fact that you're existing and established businesses. One new section of the Article 3 regulations does involve requirements for donated foods. Most of these requirements are placed on the businesses doing the donations, making sure that they understand what can be donated. And I believe that these limitations are really very much in accordance with what the food bank is already looking for in terms of donations: whole unprocessed produce, prepared foods that are donated or frozen within 7 days of being made, always held at safe temperatures, never served to customers, and any packaged food should be unopened in good condition when they're required to be held at safe temperatures, and within the sell-by date. And one of the other requirements that we're asking businesses donating foods to do is to clearly label the food, to indicate how long its shelf life should still be safe, where it came from, and what the use by date is, whether it's refrigerated food that has a date 6 days after it was prepared, or if the food's been frozen, how many days it's still good upon being thawed. And that should help people receiving the food to plan accordingly and make sure that food gets used within its safe shelf life. I do have a link available for this. If you could drop that into the chat window for me, please, I'd appreciate it. And we'll send out the links as well with the recap to this presentation. These requirements are really not a deviation from what the requirements were previously, but we're hoping that by collecting them under a single heading, it'll make it easier for businesses that are interested in donating to know what they have to do. And we're going to be doing some specific outreach to restaurants to help them understand that they are able to donate foods that have been handled safely and are fit for consumption. And really our hope is that by communicating upfront about this option, that will make it easier and more prevalent for businesses to donate their extra foods. If you ever hold any events, fundraisers for your organizations that involve food vendors providing food to the public, if there are 5 or more facilities that are going to participate, 5 or more food facilities that are going to participate, we will now require that the event be registered with the health department so that we can make sure that everything's in place, that there's adequate water available, adequate restrooms available, that there's a plan for disposing of trash afterwards, that there's enough electricity available for anybody who needs it, and that we have a day of event contact, so that if we do go and inspect the event and check in on whether the vendors there are following through on the plans that they described to us for issuing their temporary permit, we know who to check in with and let you know what's going on with that. Oh, that's weird. There's supposed to be another picture up top there. I don't know what happened to it. That's not really all that important. The main idea here, though, is that annual permits are required for organizations that operate on an ongoing basis and provide food to the public, whether that food is given away or sold. Again, we do want to make sure everybody has access to safe food. So permits are assigned to a specific organization, business entity, and a specific location. They can't be transferred or shared between different spaces. Two efforts operating out of the same space by the same organization can operate under a single permit. So for instance, if there's a church that has a kitchen that they prepare meals for the public out of, and they're also operating a food pantry, the kitchen and the food pantry can both exist under a single permit. But if the church operates just the food pantry or just the kitchen, and a different organization operates the other one, such as an independent nonprofit comes in and makes meals for anybody who wants to come. They're not associated with the church. They're just benefiting from the church's space, and the church does not prepare the meals. Then that organization should have their own permit. The permit should reflect who the responsible party is, and that really is why the permit can't be shared between two different nonprofits. The permit should reflect the actions of a single business entity. Now, I know, like I said, organizations that are already existing, having you submit plans for things that are already in place is going to be a little bit more onerous than it should be. So what we're asking is that instead of submitting a full plan packet to us and us having to go through all of the schematics and everything for things that are already in place and construction isn't going to be happening, that we'll try to streamline that by having you request a permitting inspection from us. And at that point, we'll make arrangements for one of our inspectors to go out and visit, make a scheduled arrangement for our inspector to visit, see where you're storing food, how you're handling preparing food, what the process you're going through, whether it's preparation or distribution, and that everything is up to health code requirements. And if there are any gaps between what you're doing and what food safety requirements would call for, our inspector will talk through those with you and help you to come up with a plan that will meet your needs. Storage areas don't need to be contiguous to each other or all located in the kitchen, but they all do need to be maintained in a clean and sanitary manner. So when you get your permitting inspection, please show the inspector all areas where food is stored, handled, or prepared. And if you have any concerns about any of your spaces or methods, again, part of the inspector's job is to talk through the processes with you, help you understand the requirements, and help you find a solution to meet your restraints. An example of how this might work actually comes from my time with the food bank. There was a pantry that I visited, and they were packing boxes before everybody got there so that they could have a quick and easy distribution. Everybody could just get their box and go, which makes absolute sense. But they were putting frozen meat into the box first, and some of the boxes were stacked right up next to radiators that were getting warm. Lettuce was going in right on top of that meat, and there was a clear case of potential cross-contamination, that if that lettuce got contaminated, somebody eating that salad could get sick. And so talking through the methods with the people who ran that pantry, we realized that if they reverse the order or reverse the doors that they used for their entrances and their exits, that people could exit right by the freezer room where all of the frozen meat was stored. They could station volunteers right in that freezer room, and as somebody was leaving, get their meat last in a separate bag, separate from their fresh produce, avoid the cross-contamination concerns, and keep that meat frozen longer and improve the food safety for everybody who's carrying the food home with them. And on top of that, it made everything easier for the volunteers because they didn't have to lug heavy boxes of meat down the hall. They could handle it in one place. So, our overall hope is that when these concerns come up, we not only find a solution for you, but we find a solution that makes your jobs easier and more straightforward, in addition to improving food safety for your clients and customers. Now, if you are looking at moving, remodeling, or opening a new arm of your organization in a new location, at that point you will need to go through the plan review process. Just very briefly, we'd ask that you submit plans to the food safety program before you start construction, so that we can review the plans and identify any issues before they lead to food safety concerns. And it's fairly frequent that we find things such as not enough hand washing sinks, or no food preparation sink where a food preparation sink was needed, or not quite enough refrigeration to handle all of the food that needs to be cooled. And by identifying those before somebody locks into their layout and starts construction and orders all of their equipment, we give them a chance to adjust things early and save money in the long run by correcting problems before they start. Now, once you've got the compliance, you can build out to those plans, and after you've completed construction and gotten final plumbing inspection from the Allegheny County plumbing program. At that point, you could schedule your pre-operational inspection with us. We'd go through, make sure everything was built according to plan, identify usually fairly small issues, issue a health permit, issue a placard really at that day. At that point, you'd receive a bill for your health permit. Once you paid that, you'd receive your permit in the mail. You could hang that on the wall. And I know it says finish there, but that's really the start of a ongoing relationship with the health department, and we do seek to be a resource for permitted businesses. We try to work with everybody as much as possible and find solutions. Our overall goal is everybody being able to count on safe food. What do you need to have a successful plan? We have some Cliff's Notes in effect of what you would need to do in order to have a compliant plan. There may be some small details that aren't included in these short summaries, but these will get you most of the way there, and our plan review inspectors would be able to help you smooth out any details that might not be mentioned. The restaurant requirements would be what you'd want if you were going to be opening up a congregate feeding program, and the retail sales requirements would be what you'd be looking for if you're opening up a new food pantry. And yeah, there's a QR code and a link to help you get there. Now, the plan review process is described online. You'd go to our main page, which you can get to by I'll have the link at the end. I've got the link later, I think, if I haven't already put it in there. But opening a permanent food facility, it'll talk you through, as a quick summary though, There's a checklist that you would need to fill out, sort of a application form. It gives us some basic details about your plans. We would need a menu or a list of the types of foods that that you want to hold or prepare. So, fully acknowledging that working from donated foods, that you're not going to have a set menu. We'd just be looking for examples and samples of the types of foods that you have in mind. Or if you're planning a food pantry, really, are you going to be doing cold foods, frozen foods, foods that require time and temperature control for safety? Just to help us have a better idea of what your refrigeration needs might consist of. A floor plan showing where everything would fit in, a list of all the equipment that you're planning on using, and there is a plan review fee that you would need to submit as well. And all of that is detailed in significantly more detail available on the website. But once we receive the plan, our plan review specialists consider all aspects of the information that you submit against the food safety requirements. Many plans do need a little bit of revision after they're submitted. Sometimes there aren't enough sinks or refrigeration, like I mentioned before, or other times maybe the finishes planned for the walls, floors, or ceilings aren't meeting the requirements for smooth and easily cleanable surfaces. But regardless, we'll flag some of those details for you so that you can make changes before construction and avoid costly redos later. Our goal is to review all plans within 6 weeks of when they're submitted, but the actual timeline depends on how many plans we have in front of us at any time and the complexity of the plans that we've gotten. And if there are details that you need to submit revisions on later, you don't have to go through that 6-week queue a second time. Your plan basically stays at the front of the line between when it gets its first review and when it is deemed to be compliant. Each time that you would submit updates, we would look at those as soon as possible after they come in. But once you get that notice of compliance that all requirements have been met, and construction can begin.
Oh, that's construction.
And once construction's finished, that pre-operational inspection again would look to make sure all details have been considered. Small details are often missed. Little things like that foam insulation needing to be smoothed out, trimmed so that it doesn't have those cracks and crevices where grime could accumulate. And on the plumbing, that those brackets are also another area where grime can accumulate. And by correcting those issues right off the bat and avoiding that accumulation, it avoids situations where quite literally grime in those little crevices can serve as a place that fruit flies can grow, breed, find harborage, and once they get into those little cracks and crevices, they're really tough to get rid of. So we just want to head those issues off before they start. But after the pre-operational inspection is completed successfully, you'll get a placard to hang in your window, and at that point you're good to go. And about 30 days later, you'd get your first operational inspection, just to make sure that things are being done correctly on an ongoing basis. And I do know that inspections can sound scary. Having regulators come in and look at your business can be stressful. I've experienced it firsthand. But really, the overall goal is to help you and your employees and your volunteers to know what you need to do to operate safely every day. Really, I think that it makes sense to think of our services as a high-value consultation. We're able to help identify issues and figure out solutions that fit your constraints and help improve what you're able to offer to your customers on a daily basis. We try to build relationships, and we try to be there to answer questions on an ongoing basis. And sometimes it can be something as simple as in this picture, that third pan that's kind of floating up above the surface of the warmer there. I'm not sure if it's double stacked. I think it is double stacked. But what that can do is insulate the food from the hot water that's supposed to be keeping it at a safe temperature, lead to food being at an unsafe temperature. And it's a really straightforward fix, can happen in a matter of mere moments. And in this case in particular, our inspector spotted that on his walk through the kitchen, checked the temperature of the food, and the chef was able to make that change in about 30 seconds. But not every inspection is equal. They all start with our inspector identifying him or herself and letting you know why they're there. But there might be several reasons why they stop by to see you. The comprehensive inspection, it currently shows up on all of our reports as an initial inspection, is looking at everything that you do, all of the handling, preparation, storage areas, 33 items on our inspection report, really a top to bottom full look at everything. And we offer consultation during and or after inspections to identify issues and help you identify potential solutions. If there are issues that need us to come back later and check and make sure that the solutions were handled appropriately, we'll let you know that we'll schedule a reinspection. Typically within 2 weeks of when we're there the first time. Sometimes as quickly as the next day, depending on how serious the issue is. But those are geared to just making sure that the plan that we discussed and that is going to correct those food safety concerns is being executed, and things are improving. Sometimes, believe it or not, we do get calls from businesses asking us to help them out with something. We call these service requests, and we schedule times to go out and just check on things and help answer any questions that you have with an on-site consultation. An example would be if you're looking to get a permit or to register your existing agency, that in effect would be a service request to help get you set up with your permit for the first time. If we receive a complaint, we look into it, and at that point, inspector would show up and say, hey, we got a complaint about somebody handling food without gloves. They were cutting sandwiches in half with their bare hands. We check in on that, make sure that you've got plans in place, that you're not handling ready-to-eat food with bare hands or looking in at whatever the problem might be. Or if somebody says that they got sick as a result of eating something at your organization, we would look in at that as well, keeping in mind what food was being prepared and how it was handled. We'd check and make sure that refrigeration is at right temperature, food's being held at the correct temperature, and just try to see if there are conditions that might have led to an illness. And if we do find a potential connection, a dotted line, we'll ask you to make corrections. And I think that if there's one thing everybody can agree on, is that we want people to not get sick after eating their food. But in any case, there is a report that's issued at the conclusion of any inspection, and I've got some missing information. It's actually fairly key to being able to explain the reports. I'm so sorry about this, but I do need just 1 second to make sure of what's going on here. Showing up correctly on my other screen. I'm going to try exiting out of the presentation really quick and opening it back up, see if that makes a difference here. Right, it seems to be working. Oh, working in part this time. All right, you know what? We're just gonna go with it and hope that it displays correctly. Now it's telling me the picture can't be displayed. What the heck is going on here? You have plan B here. I am going to stop recording really briefly. And I'm very sorry about this, but I will be right back.
Number of slides, we probably have maybe about 6 or so to cover this topic, and then about certified food protection managers. So
yeah, very sorry. I don't know what happened with the presentation. It has a picture. It says can't be displayed in the main screen, even though on my preview it shows it correctly. The good news is that I've got a backup copy of PDF of the slides to show you on inspection report what you'd be looking for. Shows the type of the inspection, when it happened, and identifies everything as either being diamond, in excess of minimum requirements, satisfactory, not observed, which would indicate that. Amanda, I'm getting an echo of myself. Are you muted?
I am muted, but somebody else isn't, so I muted them for you.
Okay.
You should be good now.
Not observed would be that that activity might take place, but we didn't see it that day. Not applicable, it just doesn't take place, or in violation. And if violation, it's rated as being high, medium, or low risk based on evaluation of done in the FDA's model food code. And then in more detail, you can kind of see on following pages of the report, descriptions of what was observed, if something was done during the inspection to alleviate the concern, and what the standard is that you have to meet in order to be safe on an ongoing basis. And then real quick, as Amanda mentioned, just a couple more slides about certification. Certified food protection managers are actually by state law not required for nonprofit entities, but not being certified doesn't exempt you from following all of the food safety rules. So we highly recommend having at least one person present at all times here handling, storing, serving food who does have certified food protection manager for in particular feeding programs. Food pantries that are just storing sealed food would not need this level of certification. But we offer classes on an ongoing basis to help people meet this requirement. You can get our schedule and more information about our 1-day, 2-day, and challenge exams there. The 1-day and 2-day classes both include a book to help you study, in addition to the test and the instruction. The challenge exam would be just the test by itself. Or if our schedule or anything else doesn't meet your needs, There are other accredited providers that you could go to for certified food protection manager. And actually, this list is not 100% up to date, but if you go to the short link there or use the QR code, it will give you a full list on an ongoing basis of everybody accredited by the American National Standards Institute. We also have some resources to help you out, whether it's information about hand washing and its importance, how to keep your thermometer calibrated and giving you the correct temperature on an ongoing basis, how to organize your refrigerator for safe food storage. And we're making a very intentional effort to provide more materials in more languages. So on an ongoing basis, you should see updates to how our translated materials are shared on the webpage. And if there's something where we're not meeting a need that you have for information in a particular language, please reach out and let us know. We'll do everything we can to help out and communicate clearly in language that's going to be useful to your staffs, your clients, or anyone else. And just real quick message about turkeys as we're going into Thanksgiving. Turkeys do take about 4 to 5 days, or 1 day for every 4 to 5 pounds to thaw in a refrigerator. So a frozen turkey distributed right before Thanksgiving is not going to thaw in the refrigerator very, very quickly, very easily. It can be done under running water. It can be done in water that's changed every half hour, but it does take about a half hour per pound. And you do have to change water every 30 minutes. So a 15-pound turkey would take about 7.5 hours and 15 changes of water to safely thaw. And you can roast an unstuffed turkey in the oven from frozen. It should take about 50% longer. So a 15-pound turkey would take about 6 hours instead of 4 to thaw safely. But it is not safe to just put a turkey out on the counter. It is not safe to put it into hot water or put it into water that's not changed. Both those cases can lead to bacterial growth. And it's certainly not safe to fry a frozen turkey. That can lead to huge splatters of oil, fires, and explosions. So none of those should be done. And we have some information about handling turkey safely. You can get to it through this short link, this QR code, or we do have a link that we can drop into the chat or share out with you afterwards. And here's our general contact information again, 412-578-8044 or foodsafety@AlleghenyCounty.us. Thank you for bearing with me through the technical challenges, and I'm glad to take any questions that you might have.
Jesse, do you want folks to just shout their questions out, or should we put them in the chat and have
Either
some
way,
moderation?
if you want to shout it out, go for it.